So I was talking to Gary earlier, and I guess I shouldn't blame him. Uh, and I'm trying to get through September in Zoom. And those of you who don't visit the Zoom thing, we went to a restoration trying to do different things. And I'll make the announcement next week that everything's going to be remain the same. We're just going to add different context to the meetings that we have every week. So I was some of the songs that I always wanted to do, and a lot of you will understand this. You know, the organs and all the things that we've been dealing with for years are very limited to a specific area, and mostly things that are very, very old, and that's okay. The 1920s and 30s and 40s and 50s. When you get into 60s and 70s and 80s, which there's a lot of great music, it's really hard to pull off because the instrumentation during those years changed quite a bit. The electric guitar became very popular, and I know you may not be one of those, but there's amazing group. For example, the Beatles, whether you like them or not, they wrote incredible music, very well written. Things like the Ventures, and this is the thing that I'm kind of investigating, and all of this stuff is just new to me. So when I first start, it's always kind of like, well, I don't know. But the more I play it, I kind of get into it, and then I like it. So always give yourself, when you meet someone you've never met before, it's kind of the same thing. You gotta get to know them a little bit, and then you either like the person or you don't like them, even though you don't know anything about them. The music is kind of the same thing. So this one, it was a huge hit for them, and I want to play a little. Well, I want to play the whole song before we get going here. The name of the song is called "Walk, Don't Run," and it was made popular by a group called The Ventures. It's kind of the same area when the Beatles got here in the 60s, and these were American members, obviously. And they did a lot of things. They did a Hawaii Five-O thing. They also did Perfidia, and they didn't do too much singing during that time. Groups kind of revolved back to where things were not necessarily sung. It was more instrumental. It's really a fun thing. So it may not sit right with you because it's very electric guitar, but it's got like 600 million views. So I always gauge by that. So sit back and enjoy the sounds of the Ventures called, and then what I'm doing here, if you can see on the screen, I'm just calling up the registration called Walk, Don't Run. And then I have it set up with my pedal. So when I push the pedal, you'll see that one lights up. And then as I push and go through the procedure, it makes me concentrate in playing. I don't have to necessarily push the buttons. And we'll talk about how to activate that today. So we can go back to just me, Gary. Here's Walk, Don't Run by The Ventures. Crazy stuff. I had the mic open. Hopefully that didn't mess things up. And then let me play one more that I've been working on recently, and we'll get it right into class. This one is called Here Comes the Sun. And I'd never heard that song until like 4 hours ago. I really like it. It was written by the Beatles, and there's quite the history behind it. If I mess it up, I'm still working on the song, so I hope you enjoy it. So the rhythm was really hard to pull off. This is a very different thing. It starts with just a drum and guitar, then the bass comes in, the drums. So what I do is I keep listening to the YouTube, the most viewed one, and I try to mimic that exact arrangement. So here comes the song written by George Harrison in 1969. Here comes the song by the Beatles. Here we go. Yeah, a few boobles there. So that goes to show you that I'm human. So, all right. So let's start talking about a lot of things that this keyboard has that I think they're incredible, and that's the ability for you to customize it how you like it. We talked about the touch. You know how you can customize the touch, and then there's an area on the keyboard called parameter locks. And think of the word parameters of things in music you can control and tell it to remember that setting. Things like tempo, styles, the chording, the splits, all that stuff. So normally on every other product, you have to go in there, and if you want to make a change, you have to memorize it and then save it and call it to a thing and put it to a preset, save it to a USB, and it's a real long process. So there is an area on the Genos that it's really amazing. There's two areas. One's called the freeze area, and I love that name because when you freeze something, you think about it how it just stays the way it is. It's frozen, a piece of ice, it's just sitting there. And then there's another area under the menu called parameter lock. So first, let's talk about the freeze button. And the best way to access, Yamaha gives you a great thing called direct access. And it's actually located to the right of the keyboard here. Next, right over the 1, 2, 3, 4, one touch, there's a black button that says direct access. So if you push that first, before you do anything else, the next button you push, it'll take you to that area. So when I push that, it says operating a button or controller jumps to the relevant display of that respective control. Touching the panel reset calls up the function to reset various settings of the instrument without rebooting. So now that I did that and I touched the direct access, I'm going to push the freeze button. The freeze button is at the end of all the presets. You'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then there's a kind of a clear button that says freeze. When I push that, these are my choices. You can freeze the voice. I say, well, why would I do that? Well, if you found a voice you really like, if you tell it to remember that it doesn't matter what you push, it'll always stay on that voice. The tempo is pretty obvious, so if you adjusted it to something that you like, it'll remember that. Line out is not that big a deal. That's if you're going to record things going out to the recorder. The transpose, if you change keys, and all you have to do is Put your finger over it and check it. Transpose. Live control, we're not getting into that. And keyboard harmony, that's if you had harmony turned on, you can tell it to remember. You can tell it to remember the style. So if you're using a style of music and you really like it, and you can go through all the presets, it'll freeze that. Multi-pass is kind of a weird thing because a lot of you don't know much about it. Chord loopers, scale tunes, foot pedals, all that stuff is kind of not really knowledgeable to you yet. MIDI songs, audio song, text, MIDI settings, assignable buttons, all that stuff. So normally what I do when I use it, this is my configuration. I remember the style, I remember the multipad, the tempo, and the transpose. And then that's a way that how I use it. And now when I turn it on, it lights up in orange, and those things that you check now will become frozen. So it's very simple. We'll do it one more time. Direct access first, then the freeze button, and this is where you get to pick what you like, where you want the keyboard to freeze. Voice sometimes it's a very useful thing, depending on what you're working on. And then tempo, obviously, super important. Transpose, really important. The style, it takes hours to find the right style. And if you don't freeze it, you're going to have a hard time finding it again. I can't remember half of the names of what they're called. So after I lose it, then it's another 2 hours trying to find it. And multipads are things that are built into the keyboard you can add to any of the styles. And we'll talk about that at some other time. So that's the freezing section of the keyboard. Now, if you go to menu, right over the top here is all these white buttons, there's 6 of them. The second row, it says menu. And a trick, if you keep hitting it, it keeps jumping from menu 1 to menu 2. So that I don't have to go to the screen to change it. You can just toggle menu 1, menu 2. And if you go to utility, so menu 2, the second row, the 4th choice says utility. And then there's the third option. The first one says speaker connectivity. Then touch screen displays where you can change the brightness of things, the brightness of the buttons, all things that can happen. But then parameter control. This is something that I use all the time. If you notice, these are my most important things. The master EQ, the reverb type, and some of you that don't play chords, if you change them and then you press my preset, they're all going to default to finger chord. So if you change your style of playing to whatever you like, then you should also check finger type. So if that check mark exists in front of this is what now is locked on the keyboard. The reverb type, the best reverb you can have is called Revelation Large Hall. So all my presets, before I even get going, I make that choice, and then I lock it into what it says reverb type. And finger type, I always play my own chords, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fingers, whatever. But if you play one finger or AI, you use like a Lowry method, the C and the E flat, to play a minor chord, then you want to make sure that you put finger type, and then when you change it internally, and we'll go to that right now. So parameter lock, super important. The way you play chords, it's really also determined on your ability of knowledge of music. I have always played my own chords, and then when I try to do one finger, I can't do it because it's so foreign to me. The same way it would be for you if you play the one finger, for you to play 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fingers with chords. It's the same reaction. So if you're receiving registrations from me on a particular song, they'll be fingered. So all you have to do is go to the menu number 1, and it says split and fingering. So I push my fingering on that. And then if you notice the finger type is at the bottom of the screen, it's what I use, fingered. If you play one finger or 2 fingers only to play chords, there are 2 choices you can have. And by pushing it, it takes me to a sub-menu. Do not use single finger. On the Yamaha, it's all backwards. So you can use multi-finger or you can use AI. AI fingered. It's not the bottom one, not full keyboard. Either this guy, A1 fingered, or multi-finger, so you can use one or two. So, to prove the point now, remember we locked this already on the parameter lock. So when I push my presets, look what happens. It stays in multi-finger. See that? Preset 2, multi-finger. Preset 3, multi-finger. They're all locked to the finger of your choice. If I remove that from being parameter lock on menu 2, utility, and then if I remove the finger type, when I hit preset 1, look at the bottom of the screen. Fingered is what I use. So that's super important. I don't think it's confusing at all. I think it should make sense. Once you select how you play the chords, then you want to go to the second menu under utility and then click on parameter lock and check mark finger type. This should be default on your keyboard, because anything you make, many changes you make will alter the result of how you sound. And I make them for me, knowingly that this is available for you. I would never throw you under the wolves, or whatever the saying is in English. So, super important. Now, okay. You still seeing the screen, Gary? Yes. So, freeze button, the parameter lock button, and then the finger type. We'll go to the finger type one more time. That's on the first page. Page 1, split and fingering. If you notice, there's no split at this point. The whole keyboard is to the left as you play your chords, and to the right you play the melody. Right now, chord detection is set to the lower, and there's other things we'll talk in the future about where it can be recognized. And then the finger type, to change it, just push where it says finger type, and it opens up a communication page where you can pick what you like. Again, multi-finger for organ people, specifically Lowry owners, that you're used to playing 1 or 2 finger for major and seventh and all minors, or AI, the first one on the second page, not full keyboard. There's no split to them for the chord, so it's no good. So let's leave it on, for me, on fingered. There we go. And fingered just means for a C chord, I have to play 3 notes in whichever configuration. Root, first or second inversion, whatever. So let's exit that. Last week, I had a lot of people send me emails and texts saying how much they enjoy the class. I know this product probably better than Yamaha when it comes to the internal things, and I rely on people like Gary, very computer savvy, very knowledgeable into how can I take stuff from the outside and bring it in here. So this is a bit of a commercial, but I don't find this offensive, and hopefully you won't either. There are expansion packs, and some people, when they worked the deal, when they bought the keyboard, that was part of the deal. And at that time, we had 22 or 23 expansion packs. So if you got that, that was a given. It came with it. It was not part of the Fletcher Music Edition. So the Fletcher Music Edition has to do with registrations, songs, arrangements, presets, all that stuff. Expansion packs is something completely different. So what I did, and I'll show you how it's built into this machine. So Yamaha does it very differently. When you get an upgrade on this product, it's massive. It's not 10 rhythms. It's not 20. It's not 30. It's thousands. So, and the quality is amazingly. They're done by Yamaha artists all over the planet. So the problem that we had was going around different countries and becoming a member of that part of the world, and then be able to download expansion packs from Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela, Italy, Romania, Ireland. And I did that. And what I charge is kind of a service fee because it takes me hours. And then the latest thing that I did was go inside the expansion pack, and I have to remove each style individually one by one. There's 990 of them. So I made a folder that now gives you access to that without having to remember where it is in the expansion pack. So again, we talked about this last week. There's 3 items that you want to mess around with this keyboard. It's either a voice, it's either a style, or it's either a song. And if you push one of those areas expecting to look for something differently, it appears empty. And a lot of you are getting with it. A lot of people are saying, oh, I understand now. So if I would like to see styles, I have to push in the screen, and it's the best way. There's other buttons on the right, but the whole keyboard can be navigated for the string. If you notice, there's a big orange ribbon there, huge, and it says country 8-beat number 2. So I push that, and I have a USB device into the keyboard right now. So all I have to do is at the top of the window, I have 3 choices: preset, then user with a little picture of a USB, and a star. It's at the top of the window, right in the middle on the orange strip. So if I hit user, and then now I go to USB, I'm going to find a folder there that says expansion packs styles. It's actually on the first page on the last item. And when I open that, I have, look at how many pages I have. I want to just go forward so you can see. I have 99 pages for a total of 990 styles. This took me 3 days of 14 hours a day. And I have to grab each one individually, save it to a stick, and then go grab the next one. And what I love about this, none of these styles exist inside the product. So if I want to play a traditional country ballad, I have one right here. I just push it. It's loaded into the keyboard. All I have to do is put intro, play a chord, and see how I like it. So I hit the intro button. I hit start, and here's traditional country ballad. Now, the problem as we move forward, if you want to enjoy all these styles, you have to own them. Because if I make them using that, your keyboard doesn't have access to that. So we have to be very careful when we do arrangements. If I make one that includes an expansion pack, then I have to make a second one for those who chose not to get the update. So we'll do one more time here. I'm still on the same page, communication page, where all the styles live. And I'm just going to different pages. The traditional Bolanco, Timba, Tango number 1, Tarantella. Let's try the Tarantella. So there it is. I just highlight it. I hit the synchro start. I get an intro and play a chord. Okay, so that's the rhythm style. So that upgrade will get you 990 new styles. That's just the beginning of it. It also has voices. So if I went to go see voices, what can my expansion has? So now on the right-hand side of the keyboard, where it says voice select, there are 4 black buttons on the top. So I just push. It doesn't matter which one, but I want to work with the right one first. The right one lit, the right one light is lit. So I hit the black button on top of it, and now the same procedure. Go to user, goes to expansion, and then let's find Entertainer 2016, and I open that up, and these are the yodel, so yodel. A hard piano, and then different pages. There's bells here. The super bell. A wire piano. A hillbilly. So every area from the expansion pack will have that area, the DX7, which is one of my favorite. These are all the FM technology sound that existed from Yamaha back in the 1970s and 80s. So when I hit up Yamaha Piano DX7 number 5, I have this beautiful sound that I love. These are all FM technology, so get out of that folder again, and then you can go to choir and vocals. I have legato. It's endless. So that's another maybe 900 voices. So when you compare what you get for it, the amount of money that you're spending, it really is pennies compared to what you get to upload into the machine. The problem is that a lot of you are not that good in unzipping files and even downloading things. And if you do, and I've been through this past week, so part of the service that I offer is send you to your home a USB that will install it into your instrument. But I need to talk to each person that buys one to get the serial number, because Yamaha protects it with that fashion. And that has not been a problem. It's not you don't have to physically tell me on the phone. There's a procedure that I walk you through, and then it extracts that serial number, and then you send it to me, and then I send it directly to your house. And then when you get the USB, you just install it. And I go through the entire process. There are people in this classroom that have done it, and you can talk to them. They know that when they call me, I'm there. Because as a consumer also, and someone that doesn't know about other things, it's nice to know that you have the support you need when you need it at whatever time it is. So I'm very sensitive to that. People like Kathleen and Wayne, and there's at least 20-some people, and they know that they can trust on me for anything they need. And that in itself is worth the price of admission, because it's very difficult to do. You need to download a program into your computer called Expansion Pack Manager. You need to go find 50. There's 50 of them I found, and then put them into the program, then extract the serial number, then build it, then save it, then put it to a USB, then take it to your keyboard. It's very complicated, and I wouldn't do this to my own mother. Why would I do it to anybody else? So I'm trying to make it so it's nice and simple. All you have to do is decide whether you want to do this or not, and if you do, the rest is taken care of by me. All you have to do is check in the mail every day when you get a little package from me. It says Mendez on the side with my home address, and then you run right away to your keyboard. So lastly, there are 2 areas where you can go do this, and I'll share the screen with you here so you can see. So I've been, as you know, I have a website now that's working really, really, really well. And then some of you are familiar with my own website. So if you go to marcomendez.net, I'll guide you through it real quick here. There it is. This is my old website. And then when it opens up, right away on the first page, it says here, GENOS 2 Expansion Pack Upgrade. And when you click on it, It gives you a little review of what it is. Upgrade your Genos or Genos 2 to the next level. 50 expansion pack installation. Thousands of new voices and style to create the ultimate registration available in the planet. Best upgrade packet for your keyboard. As a bonus, you get a download option for all the styles included in this upgrade. And then you will click here to order. If you go to Genosware, which is my other website, it's the same procedure. So Genosware opens up, and then just go to the Mega Store, and then you have an area where it says collections. You see this on the very top? The first one is called Expansion Pack Upgrade. Same thing. You click on it, and then I show pictures here. Not all 50, but this is what it looks like on the computer. These are all the expansion packs that will be installed, page 1, page 2, and I couldn't put any more pictures. And then all you have to do is hit add to cart, and the rest is communicating with me after you purchase them. And then there's a note on your receipt that has my phone number, and then it's up to you to call me. And then we go through the procedure of getting what I need to install the package for you. So anyway, so hopefully this makes a lot of sense. But repeating again, every time we meet together, I'm very aware of how intricate this can be. There's nothing really left to the imagination here that you can't do with music. And that's what I get so excited about. And it's all music related. So you don't have to worry about computerized things, notation, scoring, fingered, harmony, editing voices, recording an audio file, recording a MIDI file, saving a registration. It's all music. So if you enjoy music, this is just going to get you to levels you've never been before. With the quality of the sound, the quality of the styles, it's a no-brainer. Lastly, let's talk about this little guy. This little guy, a lot of you have trouble with. I'll show you why it's not working. So just because you plugged it in the rear doesn't mean that it does anything. There's functions for all of these pedals. You can have 3 of them. I happen to have 2. If you see there's one at the bottom there, this one over here. That's my sustain pedal, and then I use this second one to jump my preset. So if you notice, if I pick a song here, if I pick Feelings, and I hit it one time, it goes to preset 1, then preset 2, then preset 3. So this makes life a lot easier, and it's got rubber in the rear. So when on a hard floor, even on carpet, it won't slide when you push it down. And there's another device that's more expensive that looks like a piano pedal, but you don't need to do that. These works just fine. But the reason they don't work is because you have to tell it that you want it to be change registration. So how do we do that? Easy. Again, everything on Yamaha has a sub menu. So we go to the menu, so same one we keep talking about. And by the way, I have to commend people. You guys are getting so good at this. When I talk to you on the phone, I feel very confident of your ability and the response I get. And some people, let me see, it's never a problem. Never. Everybody can follow fine with it. So if I go to the menu button, there's on the first page, it's called Registration Sequence. It's the first set of banners where mixer, score, keyboard, and then registration sequence. You see on the very top, it says sequence on. If that is off, that pedal doesn't do anything. So you can plug it back there all you want and push this all you want 1,000 times, and look, it doesn't work. Why? Because you have to tell it you want the sequence to be turned on, and then if you see the pedal in the middle, it says pedal 2. This is called pedal 2. It's in the second hole in the rear of the keyboard. There are 3 holes, pedal 1, pedal 2, pedal 3. If it happens to have a pedal that's number 3, then you just change it to pedal 3 on the screen. But I have it on pedal 2, plus and minus, and then the sequence has to be on. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So people say, well, that's complicated. It's not complicated at all. It's just got to turn it on. That's all. It's like walking in a room. Oh, there's no light here. Okay, well, put the switch on the light, and then you have light. Same thing. So,
what's the volume control?
The volume control. The volume control, it's actually on number 3, I believe, Gary. Am I correct? Do you know?
That's right. Yeah, three is
Yeah.
volume.
So I don't use the volume control. I control volume by how hard I hit. There are features on this keyboard that if I hit the left hand soft, the background will be soft. And if I strike it hard, the background gets louder. We're going to get into all of that, but just be patient. Be patient with me. Be patient with yourself. There's an expression box you can buy from Yamaha, and it looks exactly like an expression pedal on an organ. So if you step forward into it, it gets louder. And if you retreat back into it, it gets softer. And that's been assigned by default on the third hole in the rear. It can be changed, but if you don't want to mess with it, if you buy an expression pedal, at the end of it, it looks like a headphone jack, and you just go to the rear of the keyboard, and you'll see 3 different holes that you can put in. The third one will say in parentheses volume, so you'll know you'll stick it in there, and now it works. And then lastly, and I keep saying lastly, do not, under any conditions, do not buy anything that's not Yamaha brand. What happens when you do, you may save $5 or $6, and then there's something on this keyboard called polarity, plus and minus. So if you buy a non-Yamaha product and you stick it in there, then everything is backwards. When you step on the gas pedal, it gets softer, and when you back out on the gas pedal, it gets louder. And then you have to go inside the keyboard and find the polarity and change the polarity, and it's not worth it over $5-6. You know, this company is the best there is. Everything they make is top-notch quality. So if you want to buy anything exterior for it, just stay with their brand. They're compatible. You plug it in, it always works, it never breaks. We had some issues in the villages, and come to find out, it was never the keyboard. It was nothing wrong with the board. It was something that was transferred through my classes from a previous product, from GENOS 1 going to the 2, that created an issue with the 2. So, and we went through, and I'm not going to say who it is, but you know who you are. And it was hours on the phone, and I was so frustrating. And then finally, the engineers from Yamaha, we got all kinds of people involved in the program, computer programmers, musicians, and we figured it out. And it actually has failed in other instances, so it had nothing to do with the quality of the product. It was a previous preset from a previous product that this didn't like it. So it created a problem. And now that whole problem has been fixed. But I learned a lesson. So now when I make presets, I make sure that if I'm using a 2, I make it on the 2. And then you don't have any issues. So anyway, I know it's been long and tender. Normally I don't like to do this long, but I don't want you to come here and feel that you were shortchanged and you didn't learn anything. So I strongly recommend the way that we're recording these classes now, you will have access to, when we have 2 screens, you can see them. So I would encourage you, this is a lot of stuff we talked about here today. And then please reconsider on the expansion packs. That's something that you will not regret. The amount of stuff that goes with it, and then the nice thing of me being in the middle of it, helping you. So don't be afraid. Don't be scared of it. It's not a problem, and you'll have full control with full communication with me through the entire process, prior to what I need, and then after you receive it, we'll talk on the phone again. It's not a problem. And just like to clarify that it happens all the time. If you need me, don't wait until you're so mad that by the time you call me, you're like a boiling water heater. And it's a simple thing, and it's by my entire life, this has been a problem. I tell people, if you need me, here's my phone number, call me. But my phone never rings about any help. This is the most talk I've been on the phone since this expansion pack thing. And then by the time they get to me, when I ask them, Why didn't you call me? It's the same answer for the past 30 years. Well, you're busy. I didn't want to bother you. You need to erase that from your head. I make a living based on your support and your kindness with me, with all the things that I provide for a price. So you're not bothering me. And if I didn't want you to call me, I wouldn't give you the number. So, and I just asked you for 24 hours for me to return a phone call. Normally, doesn't take that long. And normally, I'm pretty quick about it. But if I'm traveling, or if I'm on an airplane, or on the road, I can't call you. So anything that you have an issue, I'm here to support you the same way you support me. It's the only way that it should work. Shouldn't be only one way. Me trying to sell you stuff and then never help you. So that doesn't work in my book. So be patient with yourself. This is an absolute beautiful thing to be able to work with. And you just have to be very patient because you'll never learn it all the same way as me. That's the way it is. So let's be grateful that we have an instrument of this caliber that we can do what we can do musically. So anyway, let me see if there's anything on a chat there. You see anything there, Gary? Are we okay?
There's nothing that's relevant at this point. No.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Gary, for helping me out today. It makes a big difference when we can see the screen, and it really makes the association with what I'm doing a lot easier to deal with. And then take the time when the recorder becomes available, you'll be informed, and then go revisit it. And if there's a spot that you don't understand, just go look at that area and then be in front of a keyboard if you can, so you can follow along with the same things that I did. And again, please reconsider the expansion pack upgrade. Is absolutely 100% worth every penny of it, and mostly because of what I'll do, so you don't have to deal with all the headaches. It'll be just in your house, and then we'll guide you through it to install it. It literally is as simple as that. So, all right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for being here. I hope you learned something. It's always a pleasure, and I always want to be here. There's next week, I'm not here again. I'm traveling. So I don't put you off because I don't enjoy this. I enjoy this thoroughly. I really, really like it. So I'll finish with a song, and that way we can exit in a nice fashion. And then I'm going to do one of my new ones. This song was a real pickle to get. This is an artist by the name of Luis Miguel, and he's a superstar in Mexico. He's been around since he was 12 years old. I think he just turned 60. And all his music is very restricted in this country. Not that you can't listen to it, but you can't buy the music. It doesn't exist. So I had to end up buying this song from someone in Mexico. Not expensive. It was $5. But it was so complicated that I didn't want to spend the time, So all of you, as you know, as we get old, we don't want to work anymore. We want things easy. I don't want to sit here and do it by ear and then write each note down. I pay $5, I'm done, and then all I have to do is come up with a registration. And this is a carbon copy of this song. Mainly features a saxophone sound, but the song is an absolute beautiful, beautiful ballad. And it's called Tengo Todo Excepto a Ti. That means I have everything except you. It's really an amazing title. Spanish titles are always very romantic, but in real life, when you live in a household, it doesn't work that way. So here's a song written by not Luis Miguel, but he's the artist, called Tengo Todo Excepto a Ti, which means I have everything except you. Here we go. gorgeous song. Gorgeous. I love it. So we'll be covering that in class anyway. So thank you again, everybody. Stay safe. Thanks for being here. I really had a good time, and see you in a couple of weeks. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.